everyone. Welcome to day number 4 of the 4 days of Christmas gift tags. Today we are up to 4 calling birds. Now today I'm doing something very different than what I had originally planned to do, but I decided I wanted to go very non-traditional today. So today, instead of using reds and greens or even blues, today we're going to use pink and brown. So we're going to use our normal tag just like we have been using all along, but I wanted to use pink and brown. One of my design teammates over on Getting Cricky has done some pink and brown Christmas cards this year, and they're just beautiful. And so I thought, you know what, I think we're going to go non-traditional and kind of think outside the box. My original intent was to make them all very vintage, traditional looking tags, but I decided instead today we're going to do non-traditional and go pink and brown. Now we are using the page 35 on Joys of the Seasons, just the same cartridge we've been using through the whole series, but this time we're doing some extra things. I went ahead and cut the shadow layer for the main image this time. The image is a bird and it's sitting on this little swirl. So I cut the shadow layer and I cut it in in a dark brown, and then I cut the main layer in a lighter color brown, and then I cut the bird in a kind of a speckled pink. And I've already layered all those together, so that's why I'm just explaining to you, and you'll see the finished product. So that one actually has 3 layers. Then on the 4 calling birds, just like I have every other day, I've been using the shadow feature for the lettering, and they're all cut at 1.5 inches as well as the bird itself. But I cut the calling birds in the shadow feature in pink, and then I stopped my Cricut, cut the 4, it was actually cut in pink as well, and I just discarded that. But then I went back and recut the 4 in the shadow feature in the dark brown, and then I went back and cut the 4 in the normal feature here, the shift key on the main button, in pink. So when you get everything all layered together, this is the bird with the 2 different color brown and the kind of the speckled pink. This is the calling and birds in with the shadow feature, and then this is the brown shadowed 4 with the pink over the top. And then what I did is I took my Distress ink in Vintage Photo, and I got my inking tool out, and I just lightly inked over the top of the letters just to kind of knock off some of the brightness from the pink. So that's what I'm doing on the front. Now the paper that I'm using for the front of the card is this from K & Company. It's a 2-sided paper, but I'm using the brown and pink polka dots, and that's going to be the side where everything layers together, and we'll come back to that. But for the back, I cut my sentiment in craft cardstock, and I kind of miscut some of these, and so we're going to have to do, well, this one actually fits okay. It's on the others that I made, I had to do a little bit of trimming, but this one looks like it's going to fit okay. So what I want to do first is I have my Victorian Velvet Distress ink and my inking tool here, and we're just going to go around the edges. Now you have to be pretty liberal with this, simply because the pink really doesn't show all that well on the craft color. So I'm being pretty liberal, and I'm also going in fairly deeply just because I want it to really fade into the brown. So this is going to be on the back like it has been on all the other tags, or I suppose you could consider it the front depending on how you look at it. But I wanted it to be it's kind of the reverse of the front. It's more heavier pink on the front, where on the back it's going to be a little bit more noticeably brown. Now if you'll notice, I cut this differently than what I have been. The cut is not centered. For one thing, it's off to this side, and that's just simply because we have to leave space for the hole, and I need that to stay centered. But if you'll notice here, there's less of a margin cut here than there is here, and the reason why is because I want to use twine. Now this is Blossom twine from the Twinery, And I decided on this, I wanted to go around 3 times. And so that's why I left a bigger margin on the top, just to give it a little bit of extra dimension. Oops, let's go a little bit longer here. Let's go ahead and cut that. Okay, and then we'll start here, and we're just going to go around the top. Now, I'm not being too particular about how well it is right now, because I will play with it once I get it taped down. So what I'm going to do, first of all, is I just have a piece of Scotch tape up here, all set aside and ready to go. And I am just going to tape that down on there, and then come around. I cut this one a little bit too long, so I'll trim that off. And actually, I can use that piece in just a minute for the next step. So there we go. And that's what the back side looks like, and that's the side you won't see. Now, this is the end that goes away from the hole. So on this end, I'm going to spread it out just a little bit. It almost makes like a ray pattern, like this is the center and it's coming out from that. And I want to make sure that's straight. And then with this little piece that I cut just a little bit too long, I'm going to gather this together, and then I'm going to tie another bow. Now remember that our tag has an angled edge up there. So I have to be able, that's why I need this edge to be more gathered than the other edge, because of the angle that I'm going to have to trim off of this brown when I adhere it to my base tag. I'm using just a number 5 tag, and if you haven't seen the other 3 videos in the series, please go to the blog, check out the blog post, and so that you can see those videos. This is the 4th day, and the first day in the video, it tells you all about the story of how this series was born, and actually the years of tradition that our family has had in giving 12 days of Christmas gifts to a surprise person, either a friend or a neighbor or someone, and surprising them. So this is the way this looks. Now, I want to adhere that to my tag, and to do so, I am going to be very liberal. Now, I know I've said this before, I'm very liberal with the adhesive on these tags anyway, but this one you need to be even more liberal with. And the reason why is because you have the extra bulk of that twine. So especially on this top part where the twine is going to be trying to be adhered down to the tag, you need to be really liberal, because you don't want it to come off and that twine doesn't stick all that well to the tape. Now I want to line it up from this edge on this side to make sure that it's straight here, because the other end is the end I'm going to be trimming. Okay, that looks pretty good. So again, I've got my burst kind of going out there, and it's just a subtle difference. It's not a great difference. And then I really want to press down into the tape. Probably I could have used red line tape or like Tombow Mono glue or quick dry adhesive or something like that as well, but I didn't. So now I need to make sure that none of my twine is coming off that edge, and then I'll just go ahead and trim off the edge just like we have on all the others. And then I'll get my handy little office supply hole punch and punch my hole. And this is the back side of our tag. And actually I'm completely done with the back side. That's all I wanted to do. So now we're going to move to the front side. So for the front side, I've cut this piece to the right width. And again, I want to adhere it to this end. Now, on this particular tag, you notice I've got just a little bit overlapping the end. That's fine. I'm also going to be lining this up so that it will match the brown and cover up the back. And I want to trim it based on the tag with the twine on it, just because that's the way this particular one is going to fall. And the twine really is the wild card in this that makes it bulky. But but it is beautiful. And once it's all together, the tag really holds to, or it really is a substantial tag. It's really strong and sturdy, as all of these tags are, because as you've noticed as we go through the series, and this that the tag, each tag has a minimum of 3 layers on it. And this paper, doesn't matter which direction it goes, the pattern doesn't matter. Actually, I do want it to go that way because that's the uneven edge. Again, today I'm just using scraps, with the exception of my printed piece. That wasn't scraps, but all of the pattern paper and everything that I used to cut out my images, they all came from scraps. So you don't have to go out and buy a bunch of stuff for this. As long as you've got enough pieces of paper to print out your pattern, and if you wanted to handwrite your sentiment, you could do that as well. And then you could, if you were handwriting it, you could even use scraps on the back. But since I'm running it through the printer, I have to have full pieces of paper. So again, we'll pull out our handy little hole punch and punch it, and we are almost done. Now the next step that I want to do, now that I have my tag all trimmed, I want to pull out my vintage photo again, and I want to distress just around the edges. It's very subtle, but it just seems to finish off the tag. When I didn't distress it on when I was doing the other tags, because if you remember correctly, I'm making 3 sets of these, and when I didn't distress it on the others, I didn't care for the way it looks. It just really adds that finishing touch to distress. Just ink up the edges and add, it kind of fades the edges into the center of the tag. Now let me wipe off so I don't get the back of my tag all brown. Okay, and we are just about done. Now this goes like this. Some of the others I've put upside down, and this one I really want to be sure it's going the right direction. And I'm just going to put my little bird on his little flourishes right there. Now in the original Cricut cut in the book, it did the bird in a really pretty light blue, and then it put yellow as part of the flourish, but I didn't want yellow and blue. We've already done blue on one of the tags, and we'll run out of colors. We'll do blue probably again, but I wanted pink for this particular one. Now notice as I made sure that my bird was adhered strongly down, but I'm using the Xyron 150 on this, and so each one of these is already a sticker, and I don't want it to be adhered firmly until I'm sure it's in just where I want it to be. And that looks about right, so we'll go ahead and put it down. Okay, so just one more step. I've done 2 more pieces of twine. Again, this is the Blossom. This is from the Twinery. And then this is Cappuccino, and that's also from the Twinery. And I wanted the extra bulk of 2 ribbons, and I wanted both the pink and the brown to be represented here. So we'll just pull those through our hole. And trim that off. And we have our tag. So here is the tag for the 4th day of Christmas, and the True Love sent 4 calling birds. Now if you're following along, and I put links on the blog for each post to tell you where you can find the tags, the sentiment tags that I've used. When I go to give the gifts, the website that I found these sentiments, this one says, on the 4th day of Christmas, your true love gave to you 4 calling birds. I can't find those calling birds, but here are 4 messages they left you before they flew off. So when I did this last year, I just found 4 Christmas poems, or I can't even remember now. I've got them on my computer, and I put them on little pieces of paper and rolled them up, and that was the gift for that day. So if you're lost and don't know what I'm talking about, check out day 1 on the blog, and remember, I've got a Cricut cartridge I'm giving away, and day 1 tells you all about all the different ways you can get entries to be registered to win that Cricut cartridge. And remember, I also mentioned if you don't have a Cricut, don't hesitate to enter, because if you don't have a Cricut, I will substitute another prize for the Cricut cartridge. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow for 5 golden rings. Have a great night.